good afternoon. My name is Sian Holleran. I work for Colegau Cymru, Colleges Wales, as a project manager for international and European activities. Just to let you know that the event today is being recorded. This is mainly so that we can share all these good stories with people who are unable to attend today. And if you're just joining us, if I could ask you just for the time being to keep your mics muted and your cameras off, because we will be hearing from learners, and it'll be great to be able to see their faces on screen to tell you about what they've been up to the last 6 months. Felly diolch am yn ymuno â ni heddiw I ddathlu'r profiadau tramor cyffrous mae dysgwyr addysg bellach wedi mwynhau dros y 6 mis diwethaf. Thank you very much for joining us today to celebrate the exciting overseas opportunities that FE learners have enjoyed over the past 6 months. All the visits you're going to hear about today have been funded by Erasmus Plus and the UK government's touring scheme. Colegau Cymru applied for this funding on behalf of the FE colleges in Wales through its consortium-led projects. And our aim with these projects is to provide equal access to learners across Wales to enriching international experiences. Today, we're going to share and celebrate some of those experiences with you. And I've got no doubt when I finish talking and you get an opportunity to hear the learners themselves, it'll inspire you maybe to find out more about these programmes and the life-changing impacts they can have on young people. And it's been a challenging time, let's face it, with COVID and the impact that has had on overseas travel. I'm amazed really at the commitment and dedication and enthusiasm really of all of our FE colleges to start getting some of these overseas visits happening again. I'm very grateful. We've had in the last 6 months 329 learners from our FE colleges in Wales who've been on visits to Spain, Italy, Cambodia, South Africa, lots of different countries, and they've been accompanied by just over 100 accompanying members of staff. So this is a huge commitment, for the colleges, and I'm grateful for their support in getting these visits up and running again. I ddechrau, i ni mynd I roi cipolwg I chi o'r profiadau sydd wedi digwydd ers mis Chwefror eleni. First off, we're going to give you a whistle-stop tour of some of the fantastic experiences that our learners have had this year. Some of these visits are still happening. We've got St David's College learners who are in Cambodia at the minute and Cardiff and Vale College learners who are in South Africa. We've put together a video reel for you that gives you a snapshot of the variety of different visits that have happened over the last 6 months. There should be some music that accompanies the video, and I think Maxen is going to load that up for us now. It'll take a couple of minutes. And it'll just show you what variety of visits have taken place. Diolch, Maxine. Thank you very much for sharing that video reel. Now, hopefully that gives you a flavour, really, of all the different visits that have taken place. As I've said, just from February this year, when travel restrictions were relaxed, really, following the pandemic. So now we're going to move on to hearing from the learners. I mi glywed o ddysgwyr sydd wedi bod ar yr ymweliadau. Yn gyntaf, dysgwyr sydd wedi bod I Europe. So we're going to hear first of all from those learners who went to Europe. And if you could put your cameras and your mics on so that we can see you on screen, that would be great. I think we've got a number of learners from different colleges. Thank you. Here we go, starting to appear on our screen. So we've got Claire and Jennifer. I know there are a few others out there as well. So if you could put your cameras on, that would be great. Okay, thank you, Chloe. That's lovely to see you. Any other learners who went to Europe? If not, we'll get started with the three of you. And I've just got some questions, really. And as I said, when we had the little roundup and the check before we let the audience in, we want this to be a chance for you to reflect honestly about your experiences, the impact they've had on you. Don't worry if you make a mistake or you think you forget to say something. Just, you know, appreciate that the audience will want to be hearing from you and not listening from me. So first of all, Jen, do you mind if I come to you first of all? And if you could maybe introduce yourself, give us the name of your college, what you study and where you went.
Hey, so I'm Jennifer. I went to Sweden. I am an equine apprentice at Coleg Sygar in Carmarthen. Yeah.
Okay, and what was the favourite bit of the visit for you? Tell us a bit about where you went and what you did and what you enjoyed the most.
So we went to, effectively it's a college in Flyinge, which is in Sweden. And I mean, for me, it was huge to see what they do with their horses over there. They're, in my opinion, they're about 100 years ahead of the UK in their horse care. So it was fabulous to go and learn from somewhere that does things so differently. A massive part of that was welfare for all of us. I mean, I know none of the other guys that came on the trip with me are here, but I can definitely speak for all of them. So we had lengthy discussions about it, about how much we're going to take with us now into our careers, especially for us, because as apprentices, we're all already working in the industry. So you do sort of wonder, like, oh, how much am I going to get from this? I've already got a job in this, you know, but it was huge.
And I guess for you as an apprentice as well, if you are employed, how did you persuade your employer then to let you go for a couple of weeks?
Well, I'm very lucky. I work multiple jobs, so I work there on an agency basis, so I didn't particularly have to ask for the time off. I could just not accept any shifts. But coming back and explaining everything I've done and everything I've learned, they were really pleased that I went. And you know, everyone's really interested, especially in the horsey industry. Anything that you can bring from other places, people are really interested in hearing about. So it all was great, actually.
Oh, that's really good. That's excellent to hear that. Do you mind if I just move on to a couple of others first of all, and may come back to you to stay on screen. Chloe, do you mind if we come to you next?
Yeah.
If you could tell us a bit about yourself, what you're studying, what college and where you went.
So my name is Chloe. I study at Cardiff and Vale College, where I learn travel and tourism level 3. We went to Palma in Mallorca for 2 weeks and we just returned a few days ago. And we were learning about hotel management.
Okay, and you were on work placement, weren't you, in Mallorca?
That's correct.
Okay, and what was the favourite part of the visit for you then, and how do you think it's helped you with your travel and tourism studies?
So my favourite part was being able to work with a variety of people and learning how each person's role is so important. At the place where I was working, it was a family-run hotel and it's been passed through for 4 generations. And being able to see how the relationship between staff and guests, it was so it created such a welcoming environment, and it allowed guests to be returning customers. So that's taught me how important it is to be able to create relationships with customers, for them to be returning.
Excellent. Okay, lovely. And has the visit provided you with any benefits to other aspects of your life, do you think, in addition to what has contributed to your qualification and what you're studying?
Yeah, so it's given me many skills, but one that I'm very thankful that I learned was I picked up on quite a few Spanish words and being able to communicate in their language. So not only will it allow me to, in my future career in travel and tourism, be able to communicate with others, but it's also let me gain a lot of confidence in knowing that I'm still able to learn a different language, and being in a different setting allows you to learn so much.
Excellent. That's really great. Thank you, Chloe. Stay on the screen. I'll come back to you probably, but I'm going to go to Mia now. Hi, Mia.
Hi.
Hi, Mia. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what college you're in, what you study, and where you went.
So I'm from Ebervale College. I study cybersecurity, and I went to Barcelona.
Okay. And what were you doing in Barcelona?
So we did work placement. We had a little classroom, and we worked with people out that have their own company that do that type of thing in Barcelona.
Okay. And were you quite a large group of students who went?
Yeah, there was 3 different courses that went with us: public services, cybersecurity, and plumbing.
Okay. And how did that visit help you with your studies, do you think?
So it helped me socially. So I don't really talk to anyone around college in different courses, so it helped us be more social with other courses.
So helped you to build sort of different friendships really across the college then, really, people you might not never have come across, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you think of Barcelona? What were your impressions of the city?
Well, I've never travelled before. I've never been out of the UK, so it was my first time flying, and I like that. And I like going to learn about the different culture. And on our second week there, we did the stadium. We went and watched the football match, Barcelona, and that was really good.
That's a real experience going to that stadium, isn't it? So you said that was your first visit abroad. Were there things you found challenging about that?
I was quite nervous flying, as I've never flown before, so that was a bit challenging at first, but I got the hang of it after.
That's good. That's really good. Thank you, Mia. Jennifer, listening to that, I'm just wondering, was it your first visit abroad? Have you been abroad a few times? Were you nervous before going, that kind of thing?
For me, I'm very lucky. I've done quite a lot of traveling, but there were girls on the course with me that had never flown before, which was interesting because I sort of sat down, just having a drink and having some food and stuff on the plane, and they're like gripping the seats. And I'm like, "You okay?" And it turned out it's their first time flying. So yeah, it was lovely that other people got to have that experience. It was my first time in Sweden though, so that was really nice. And we did get to see Copenhagen as well in Denmark, so it was really nice to cross a couple of places off the list and see a few different places.
Yeah, and I know the equine centre you visited is like quite well known, isn't it? It's quite a famous one in Sweden. I mean, do you think you'd have ever visited that sort of place if this funding hadn't been available to you?
No way. It's the caliber of yard and horses that they have there, we just don't have that in the UK at all, really. I mean, we've got big yards, but nothing compared to that. And some of these horses are selling for like $500,000.
Yeah.
There's no way we would have that experience. I mean, especially myself, that's probably the first and possibly the last time I'm going to ride a horse of that caliber, so that's really quite an experience to have.
Okay, lovely. Thanks very much. Chloe, what about you? Was it your first time traveling abroad or?
Not for me. I've been lucky and I've been able to travel before, but there was one person, so there 10 students went, and one of the boys, he'd not really travelled before. So as well, he was quite nervous during the flight on the way and on the way back. So he was also gripping onto his seat, but it all went well.
But I suppose for you as well, Chloe, I know, for example, you were in a work placement for those 10 days. An opportunity to work abroad is maybe different to travelling with your friends and family as well. Were there any challenges that you found as part of the visit?
Not necessarily. I think at the start it was all a bit wary because finding our transportation to work placement, it was all a lot of learning and sort of being thrown in the deep end, but that's how we learn, and it gave us a lot more confidence. But there was nothing that we were really scared about because the teachers who came with us, they were all very supportive. And our work placement, they were very supportive. On our first day, they helped us with everything that we needed.
That's excellent. So we've talked a little bit about your work experiences and things that have contributed to your qualifications. Would any of you like to come in about some of the culture that you saw, some of the sightseeing that you did? Because this visit is primarily to bridge that gap between employment and education, but there's also a big cultural aspect to this. Would you like to come in, any of you, and just tell me a bit about what you saw and did?
Yeah, so I was surprised how much time we had to do those things. It was really nice. So yeah, we did a few different things, and it did help that we had Anna with us, one of the tutors, who is Swedish. So
Yeah.
that really helped, because she was able to, translate and things for us. But it was nice to have her because she taught us a little bit of Swedish as well. A couple of things that we could ask about the horses, and a couple of things to chat about outside. So yeah, it was really nice. I love to travel anyway, so it was lovely to see 2 different countries as well and absorb a little bit. So it was really nice.
Great, thanks, Jen. And before we finish, maybe Chloe, I don't know, and Mia, maybe you could come in on this. Is in terms of being selected to go on the visit, how did that work in your particular college? Chloe, do you want to go first?
So for Cardiff and Vale, all travel and tourism students and cabin crew students on all of the courses had the opportunity to apply, and we had the choice of making a PowerPoint, a video, like any sort of application that we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to say about what we liked about college, how we think it would benefit us, like going away and all of the experiences. And out of I think about 7 different travel and tourism and cabin crew courses, only 10 people got selected.
Mm-hmm.
And there were about 1 or 2 from each campus. So at Cardiff and Vale, we have a few campuses. So it was nice to be able to socialise with people from the other campuses.
So that's similar to what Mia was saying then, an opportunity to meet with other learners, even from Cardiff and Vale College, and also, to be selected as one of 10, that's a good process to go through, really, isn't it? Trying, when you think of jobs and employment and interviews that you might have, I guess that's relevant experience as well.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, Mia, would you like to add anything to that?
So when we did a presentation, and we did it in front of Kath and Ian, and we did a little presentation. I know my course did anyway. I don't know about public services and plumbing.
Yeah.
But we did a PowerPoint to just represent why we would want to go and what we would contribute on the trip and what sites we would like to see.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And just to finish this bit about Europe off, then I'm just going to come to each of you in turn and just sort of ask, would you recommend this as an opportunity for other learners within your college? Jen?
Definitely, 100%. I got so much out of it. I would 100% recommend anyone take the opportunity.
Thank you. Chloe?
Of course, we travelled home Sunday afternoon, and I've already been talking to the other people in the like lower years about how they should do it next year. It was such a great opportunity, and it's given me so many opportunities in the future. At the placement I was at, they were saying to visit back and about a job in the future or something like that. So that's amazing.
That's brilliant. That's a real opportunity, isn't it? Well, you must have impressed them, Chloe. That's all I can say as well. So, and Mia, how about you?
Yeah, I would tell them when we came back from Barcelona, or when we came back to my class on the Wednesday, everyone, we were all talking, telling our classmates, and they all wanted to really go after.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Well, listen, thank you all so much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. You've been really informative, really spoken honestly about your experiences, and I really appreciate the time you've given us today. So if you wouldn't mind putting your cameras and mics off, and then we'll be joined by the learners who went a bit further afield in Europe. So thank you very much. Okay, we should now have some learners on the call, I think, who went to Canada and to Cambodia from Coleg Gwent and Coleg Sirgar, Coleg Ceredigion. If you could put your cameras and mics on, that would be great. Excellent, thank you very much. So I can see we've got Jack, Matthew, and Amy, and Rebecca. We can't see you, Rebecca. Oh, there you go. Lovely. Thanks, Rebecca. Lovely to see you. So you as learners had the opportunity to go further afield than Europe. Coleg Sirgar, Ceredigion went to Canada. So I'm going to go to you first, Rebecca, if that's okay. And wonder if you could just tell us about what you're studying and where you went and why, really. And you're on mute, Rebecca, at the minute. Are you okay? If you just turn your mic off, Rebecca, there's a little sign that looks like a mic. If you just click on it at the top. Okay, we'll come back to Rebecca, I think. I think there might be a problem there. So, Matthew, do you mind if we come to you first of all? If you could just tell us what you're studying, where you went.
Yeah, so my name is Matthew. I'm from Coleg Gwent in Evervale. I study level 3 public services, and I went to Cambodia for 2 weeks.
Excellent. Okay, had you been to Cambodia before?
No, I've never been abroad. So.
Never been abroad or never to Cambodia, sorry?
Both. Both.
Okay, so quite a big experience for you then. How did you feel before going?
I'm a very organized person. So for me, I was freaking out because I was trying to organize everything, but apart from the trip, I was okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the favorite part of the visit for you?
Having the opportunity to teach local children over there, I think, because it was an opportunity to see how different countries teach their schools and how well children over there respond to learning English, for example.
Okay, and have you had a go at teaching before, or was this your first experience?
No, it was my first experience.
Yeah. I heard that the children loved all of you as students over there, though.
Yeah.
They did. Amy, do you want to come in on that and tell us a bit more about the children?
I feel like it was just an amazing experience to see how grateful they were and how easily they took to learning our language, and as well as we was teaching them, they were also teaching us, which I found really fascinating, of how they grasped the English and how willing they was to learn.
Yeah, okay. And you were there any sort of challenges? Because going to Cambodia maybe is a little bit different to just going to France or Spain. Were there any particular challenges you came across?
I think one of the biggest challenges was the plane. I have travelled before, but it was quite a long flight. And getting there the first week, I was kind of like homesick. So I feel like that was the only challenge, really.
Yeah, but that is something that's worth, saying, isn't it? That, that you can get homesick. I hear lots of learners who say they miss their dog, they miss their family or their boyfriends or girlfriends. But so you obviously overcame that and stayed there for the whole time you were due to stay there. How do you think it's helped you as a person, maybe, or helped you with your studies?
I think it's helped me as a person, seeing how grateful they were and how generous they were, because like no matter how little they had, they'd still come in and they'd give us gifts. So just seeing the gratitude from them was so experience changing. I didn't have anything like it.
Okay, and did you feel that was something you could compare maybe with how we approach learning in this country, maybe, that we're not always grateful? Or
No, I would say we are grateful for how we learn and how we get taught. But over there in Cambodia, it was such a different feeling to then how we would be taught here. They engaged a lot more and they seemed to actually really enjoy it and love being at school, which I can't really say a lot for in the UK with children. But they genuinely loved being there.
Okay, thanks, Amy. I'm going to try and bring Jack in. I think we've got Jack. We've got a picture rather than yeah. Hi, Jack. Are you there?
Yeah, I am here. I apologise for the photo, but I don't have access to a web camera at the
That's
moment.
not a problem at all. I take it it's a photo from Cambodia.
Yes, this is one that we've taken ourselves as well, so I just put it in so you have something to look at while I'm speaking.
Thank you, Jack. So for you then, seeing as you've put up a photo of Cambodia, had you visited there before?
I haven't. I haven't done much traveling at all prior to this opportunity, so especially flying out on such a long flight. I think it was 13 hours to Singapore, so it does take you out there, and it definitely is a different experience to what you'd get going somewhere closer, like in Europe.
Yeah, of course. And in terms of, Amy and Matthew have talked about the children that you taught there. What else were you able to see and learn about the culture of Cambodia?
So one of the good things that I thought is we did have a sort of chaperone named Kieron, who was with us throughout the entire time. So
Mm-hmm.
he was local, he'd grown up in Cambodia his entire life, and he was able to bring a lot in to speak about the culture. We had culture lessons with him where he tried to teach us a little bit of the language, and I think it was just brilliant engaging with the people in general, especially with such a religious difference out there as well, because I think it was something like 98% of the population is Buddhist, which
Right,
is
yeah.
something we don't see here in the UK. So we was doing our visits around like the temples, which is what the photo you can see. We even had the opportunity to speak to a monk on one of the first days we were there, so it did give us a lot of opportunities to see culture.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Matthew, to come back to you then, in terms of how do you think undertaking this visit has helped you as a person? Has it given you any benefits, do you think, that you'd be able to draw upon in the future?
It's definitely increased my confidence. Like doing something where you like teaching, I've never done that before, so it was a hard thing to grasp. But every day, you planned it out. Every day you got better and better because the confidence grew. So I feel like the confidence of me being able to learn and teach people, like I'll be able to do that in the future a lot better. Also, it's taken me out of my comfort zone. Like I didn't really go out of my comfort zone a lot before this trip. So for this trip, I purposely saw this trip and I was like, that'd be a perfect way to go out my comfort zone. So I did it, and I mean, it was an amazing opportunity. So
Did you feel nervous at all then before you went on the visit?
Yes, yes and no. I mean, I was nervous about just because I get nervous about most things, to be honest. But I was more excited about going there and seeing the culture, because that's I really like learning about culture and seeing how different parts of the world are compared to the UK.
Okay, thank you for that. And back to you then, Amy, as well, just to finish off this little section. If you had to recommend, a future visit to other learners, what kind of things would you say to them about maybe participating in this type of visit?
I'd say definitely go for it. Jump in head first if you need to, but it is genuinely been one of the best experiences that I've ever taken. An opportunity. It was great. I'd say definitely go for it. It is so worth it.
Thank you, Amy. Jack, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and especially when is such a far field opportunity as well, and something that you're not going to get the opportunity to do. So when these sort of things are put in front of you, I highly suggest just, like Amy said, going head first in and take in all the opportunities as they come, because you don't know when they're going to come again. And for us, it was such a brilliant experience.
Oh, thank you, Jack. And I can see the way you're nodding, Matthew, that you probably agree with what Amy and Jack have both said. Well, listen, thank you very much, the three of you. I'm sorry we've lost Rebecca from Coleg Sir Ceredigion, which is a shame, but we'll see if we can bring her back into the meeting a bit later on. But thank you, you three. If you could stick around, that would be great to listen to the rest of it. But if you could put your cameras and your mics off, that's lovely. Thank you. And I realised we had a run through for this session beforehand, and I said to the learners, please don't worry if you make a mistake. And I realised what I've done is I've left Lizzie out. We have Lizzie on the call, who's from Challenges Abroad, who's supported us really in broadening our partnerships further afield in Europe. And Lizzie's just going to speak to us a little bit about Challenges Abroad and the types of work that they do. Sorry, Lizzie. Thank you.
No problem at all. We just got a slide out. Hopefully you can see some photos there, save you just looking at me. Firstly, thank you so much, Sean, for inviting us to join this session. Amy, Matthew and Jack, I actually had goosebumps listening to your stories from Cambodia. Your stories are honestly what drives the work that we do and the reason that we are so passionate about these programs. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with your group, hopefully soon, and really finding out all that you got up to. My name's Lizzie. I'm the project manager for the Challenges Abroad touring scheme programs, and we've had a fantastic year despite all the challenges that come with travel post-COVID. We've had a brilliant year working with Colleges Wales to really develop and create some unique programs to take learners just that little bit further afield. I'm just going to very quickly introduce Challenges Abroad, and then I'll give you a little example of what our groups in country are up to at the moment. At Challenges Abroad, we are 100% committed to developing the next generation of global citizens. And when we first started speaking with Welsh colleges, we couldn't believe how perfectly aligned our programmes were with the Welsh back and the global citizenship element of the Welsh back. And actually, across the FE sector, the past year, we've worked really hard to develop our global citizenship programme aimed at students, learners, pupils currently studying A-levels or vocational courses. Ultimately, as I said, we're committed to developing the next generation of global citizens, but we take students out of their comfort zone. So it was fantastic to hear. I think it was Matthew saying that he definitely stepped out of his comfort zone. I thought, great, we've hit our learning outcomes there, but we take students out of their comfort zone to just do something totally different, to go somewhere totally new and experience a brand new culture. So our global citizenship programme was designed to have 3 core elements. So the first is community engagement on all of our programmes and the programmes that Welsh colleges have been on or are currently on, especially in Thailand. The community development element involves community engagement on the projects. So at Challenges Abroad, we support our partner charity, the Future Sense Foundation, which means we have our own teams on the ground running programmes all year round, which learners are able to contribute to. So that community engagement element is what the students were referring to, where they were talking about teaching and that workshop delivery. Every single student has so many skills that they can share whilst learning from being in a new environment. So that's anything from STEM workshops to climate action workshops to animal welfare workshops. There's a huge variety of things going on, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of stories online from what the Coleg Gwent and St David's and Coleg Syrgar students have been up to in their programmes. The other two areas are cultural immersion. I think one of the students mentioned how great it was to explore that new culture. And when you are going somewhere like Cambodia or Thailand, it is totally different, usually from anything we have ever experienced here in the UK. So that cultural immersion, that cross-cultural exchange is something that I think students find really, really rewarding. And when I talk to students, actually, it's one of the first things they say. They're so excited to try new foods. I'm not sure they're so excited about the lack of air conditioning and the humidity, but definitely the scenery, the culture is one of the key elements. And then the final element, global citizenship. So working on that personal development, that global awareness, and actually self-reflection, and how we all can make small changes or contribute to small things that ultimately add up and make a huge impact. As I said, all our programmes support our partner charity, and actually we are aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, working on a variety of different projects that range from climate action to access to clean water. And our three core elements really are education, health and livelihoods, but through this we're able to do lots and lots of different things. At the moment, from this photo in the bottom left down here, is a photo from St David's, who are out in Thailand at the moment. They are media students. They have been working in some of the temple schools with novice monks, talking about documentaries, talking about media, and through this being able to work on conversational English projects. The photo of the bottom right, oh, I've lost you there, sorry. Hopefully the bottom right, you can see that. I had to make sure I got the Welsh flag in there. A photo from Leanne's Coleg Gwent group, public services and sports students, who on their final day did a sports day at one of the partner schools that we work with. In the middle up here, we've got a climate action programme that's currently happening with Coleg Syrgar. They've done lots of tree planting. I've had some great photos of them where it's been trucking it down with rain, but they've got their ponchos on. It hasn't stopped them doing their tree planting in the rain. And actually they are now beginning their second week in the elephant park on our animal welfare programmes. In Thailand, we work with a world-renowned conservationist called Lek, who set up the Elephant Nature Park and is doing some absolutely incredible things. So that's very much a snapshot. I think that's probably 5 minutes, Sean, but we're really looking forward to finding out what the rest of the colleges get up to. No, thanks very much.
Thanks, Lizzie. That's really interesting, and it's been a real pleasure to work with Challenges Abroad. As Lizzie said, it's been a challenging time for overseas visits, but the support we've received from Lizzie and the rest of the team at Challenges Abroad has been excellent. And I think the fact they have a team of mentors on the ground in each of their hubs is really reassuring to the staff who go with our learners on these visits. So thank you, Lizzie, for that. We're going to move on now to hear from Leanne Price, who works at Coleg Gwent. None of these visits would be possible without the support of staff in the colleges, without coordinators like Leanne, and really without the support of your senior leadership teams and principals. Before Leanne shares with us her hang on, I'll try and get this the right way around, her 5 top tips for organising overseas visits. We have a learner who wasn't able to be with us today, who went on a visit to Tenerife, a photography student, She impressed me when I heard her talking when I went to do some evaluations of that visit, but she wasn't able to come today, but has provided a statement for Leanne to read. So Leanne, if I could hand over to you to do that first, and then I think Maxine will put up your slide for your top tips.
Thank you, Sian. So I'm going to read Courtney's statement as she sent it to me. And she's got, "Hi, my name is Courtney and I'm a 19-year-old photography student. I went to Tenerife on a work experience trip with fellow photography students and art students. Visiting Tenerife with Coleg Gwent was a trip like no other. There were lots of amazing moments, new memories, and a lot of new skills I learnt. I learned so many new skills in Tenerife and even began to pick up some of the Spanish language. A group favourite of ours was Vámonos, which means let's go or hurry up, which we all used a lot. I have always loved thinking outside the box and trying to capture unique photos with stories behind them. Tenerife gave me so many opportunities to do this through methods such as street photography. The culture was so captivating and I'm very thankful to have had the chance to be exposed to it for 2 weeks. I can't express with words how stunning the island is. The trip gave me so much more confidence. Pre-Tenerife, I was very shy and isolated. However, after the trip, I had gained an entire new family. Everyone on the trip became a weird, dynamic family that we all grew to love. I made so many new relationships that I don't think would have happened without the opportunity to go to Tenerife. Even the teachers became our genuine friends instead of just teachers. I even did things such as jet skiing and scuba diving, which I never thought I would have the confidence to do. And I am so glad I did them. I'm very thankful for how much that trip made me come out of my shell. I am much more confident in myself and my own ability now. It's hard to think of a favourite part of the trip, but I think my top one has to be watching the sunset from Mount Teed. Watching the sunset from above the clouds was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I will treasure forever. We all laughed so much that day and got some amazing photographs. Sam Moore even taught us about astrophotography, which I previously knew nothing about. We spent hours capturing the stars while drinking hot chocolate and looking at things such as constellations in a special telescope. We all bonded a lot and made some memories that we will remember forever. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity and for helping me meet so many new people.
Oh, thank you, Leanne. I think that really was worth reading out. So thanks for sharing that with us. You know, it's not just the impact on, you know, the subjects that they study and the qualifications, but it's more that personal impact that it can have on individuals.
And it really did with Courtney, and it showed.
Okay, I think you've frozen, Leanne, have you? No?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. And I think Maxine has just put your slide up for your top tips.
Yeah, I've got it. So organising trips is sometimes a challenge. There's lots of elements that you have to remember. So planning as far in advance as possible. This gives everyone time to make sure that locations are suitable and appropriate, that there is time to plan the journey, as booking early gives more options and reduces costs. Plan for the worst case scenario and have a backup plan, because things change that you don't expect, and when they do, they can really cause some problems. So always have a backup plan, and just plan as early as possible with partners, with Sian at Ymweliadau Cymru, and anybody else that needs to be involved, your health and safety teams. Having a group chat, we're using Teams this year, has really, really helped. It's an excellent way to get the students engaged, for them to ask questions, and it's a one-stop area to put important information to make sure everyone gets the same message. Arrange a group meeting and invite parents. Even if your group is 18, maybe 19, still invite parents. They like to know what's going to happen, what the itinerary is, what they need to do, and who the contacts are. They like to know the staff that are accompanying their students. And it helps them support the learners in preparing for their trip. We found it really useful. We've had lots of parent meetings, and they have been something that's really helped with the planning. Having a designated contact in the UK for the duration of the trip is important, to make sure they have access to the itinerary, travel documents and contact information. If anything goes wrong, your UK contact can sort it out. If you've got lost luggage or just delays, they can contact the relevant companies to try and sort things out for you, as well you're trying to deal with the students and make sure they're okay. You're not able to sort out the problems at the same time. So contacting the UK is really useful. The one thing that we found works well is staff access to procurement credit cards. Basically making sure that all staff that accompany students have procurement cards when they go out. If you lose your luggage and you need to purchase items for emergencies, having just cash is going to limit your availability. Procurement cards mean you can just contact college, make sure your limits are set so that you can go and buy whatever you need. If you have issues with accommodation or need to swap or change any emergencies that might occur, procurement cards help. And lastly, we found that travelling through bigger airports such as Heathrow, Singapore, matching t-shirts help. They make the learners and the staff stand out. If there's a problem, they can come and find you. Staff can come and find a member of staff from the college. They know you're a group. They allow you through security easier and keep you as a group rather than separating you out into different stations. And the lanyards part is we found that I had like a A6 pencil case attached to a lanyard, which we put all of the important travel documents in and made the learners wear it around their neck so that they did not put their boarding passes down or their passports, and that they always had them when they needed them. And that worked really well and is something that we're looking to try and roll out for every trip. We had Cambodia 2022 written on the back of them, and we had them put with the Welsh flags and the Cambodian flag, just something so that they stood out and they were all matching.
Are those your top tips, Leanne? Have you finished?
I'm sure there's plenty more, Sian, but I'll keep it simple.
No, they were really useful, Leanne, and I must admit the t-shirts and lanyards I hadn't really thought about, but you know, as you say, particularly when you're on those longer haul flights and you might have a break at the airport in between. So thank you for sharing those with us. Really grateful and really appreciative of all the work you've done this year to get these visits up and running and off the ground. So we're running pretty much to time, which is really good. Some questions have come in on the chat, and there were a couple of questions that were emailed through before we started the presentation today. one of the questions is around the different streams of funding that are currently available. So I'll just give a little bit, provide hopefully a bit of clarity to that. Erasmus Plus, which was the main funding programme we used to use while we were part of the EU, we can no longer participate in Erasmus Plus, or as in request further funding from Erasmus Plus, but we do have existing Erasmus Plus funding that we can now use up until the end of 2023. We're not members of the EU, but the funding was obtained while we were still in the EU, and we've had an extension to those projects, which mean they are running until the end of 2023. The UK government's decision not to participate in Erasmus Plus was taken at the end of 2020, and then they then announced a replacement programme called the Turing Scheme, which is available to learners, all learners in FE colleges, so not just vocational, it's for A-level learners within colleges as well. So that's the Turing Scheme, which is the UK government scheme, and the Welsh Government also announced its own international learning exchange programme earlier this year, which is called TAITH, which is Welsh for Journey. And we will be sending you out a follow-up email to this event, and we'll provide you with links to both of those programmes in that email. Colegau Cymru, as I explained at the beginning, has organised these visits that you've heard about today through its consortium-led projects for Erasmus Plus and Turing. And we aim to continue to do that in the future, not just with Turing, but also with the new Welsh Government TAITH programme. And the TAITH programme offers us some nice alternatives as well, some shorter duration visits, some flexibility around virtual mobilities, and some blended opportunities as well to build new partnerships. Another question that we have is how do we get involved? How can we get involved in these types of opportunities? I always inform your principals and representatives from your college who are on our international group of any funding opportunities that are due to be released. So those should be disseminated throughout the college to you in your curriculum areas. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I've never heard of them, then please do get in touch with either me or Vicky. And again, our email addresses will be in the follow-up email that's going to be sent out to you when we finish today. So if you just want an informal chat, if one of these visits has really inspired you and you've got your own ideas, please do get in touch. I think, as Leanne said, the earlier you start planning these opportunities, the better. And it's sometimes better to start planning them now, even before there's an application call or a round of applications, so that you start to build a partnership rather than try and rush the partnership just to get that into an application. So any ideas that you've got now, please do get in touch and have a chat with me and Vicky about your ideas. There's also a question about which learners in FE colleges are eligible to participate in these visits. Well, you've heard today from apprentices, you've heard from vocational learners, and you've heard from A-level learners. All of those learners are eligible to participate in these programmes. We won't be using Erasmus Plus, as I said, going forwards, but for Turing and for TAITH, FE learners are eligible, and there are opportunities as well with TAITH for staff mobilities. We're waiting on a decision at the minute for a consortium-led application that we submitted to TAITH back in May, and we should hear about that by the end of July this year. So that means staff get the opportunity to travel overseas, start to build the partnerships maybe before they take their learners overseas. I'm not sure, Lucy, if there were any other questions that came in the chat that I've missed, maybe?
No, just some nice comments and some endorsements, so all good, no questions.
Excellent, diolch, Lucy. Thank you, Lucy. So we're wrapping up bang on time, which is really good. I hope what you've heard today will inspire you to maybe find out a bit more about some of these projects. It's a pity we couldn't hear from Rebecca, because the visit to Canada for health and social care learners was excellent. But these online meetings are quite easy to set up, though Lucy won't like hearing me saying that. And maybe we could look at maybe a themed sort of short workshop webinar, maybe where we invite health and social care staff to hear about the visit to Canada in a bit more detail, because it really is a worthwhile visit to hear about. So, as I said, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr I bawb am ddod i'r cyfarfod heddiw. Thank you also, diolch hefyd I Lucy, Maxen a Vicky am I cymorth for their help in helping me organise this meeting today. We'll send out the follow-up email. If you've got any further questions, anything else you'd like to add, please do get in touch with me or Vicky. Diolch yn fawr and have a lovely summer.